Hey CSM, welcome back. Mark here. I miss you guys so much. We are getting into a brand new series. And before we get into that series, I want to front load a little bit because I have some exciting news. I want you to put these two dates on your calendar. You ready? May 3rd. Wow. First Monday in May. Guess what? We will be right back here at the Crosspoint campus for small groups. That's right. You'll be able to meet your small group leaders, some of your small group friends right here on the campus at Crosspoint. Again, social distance protocols will still be in place. Masks will be required. But listen, we'll be in the same space and have an opportunity to see each other, to share space, and to enjoy small groups. So May 3rd, mark your calendar. First Monday in May, we'll be right back here at Crosspoint campus. That's front-loaded message number one. Here's the other front-loaded message number two before we get into this series. May 24th, Monday, May 24th. If you missed the first CSM worship night, oh my word, listen, you do not want to miss this. We have another worship night coming at you. And listen, you want to invite your friends. You want to invite maybe even some of your family members who are teenagers, right? Who are in the student age range, 7th through 12th grade. You don't want to miss this because something incredible happens when students come together to worship together and to really just experience the true power of God together. You don't want to miss it. There was an amazing opportunity to worship on last month that was incredible, and we want to be able to invite you all to come back and do it again just to meet God here at Crosspoint as we begin to come out of this pandemic season. Now, speaking of coming out, that's how we segue right into this brand new series that we'll be talking about today, and it's called Build Different, leading out of the pandemic mindset. Now listen, week one, I just want to talk about this one phrase, this one idea, because as we lead out of the pandemic, guess what? There's this phrase, and it says this: no pain, no gain. You've heard that, right? But what if I said this? Pain without gain is a shame. Pain without gain is a shame. And what that statement really captures for us is that, let's be honest, the pandemic, it's been painful. It's been painful in so many ways. I mean, for some of us, we've lost loved ones. For others of us, it's just been being away from our friends. For some of us, we just miss going to the movies, right? Like just being able to go and check out the latest movie that comes out, right? Now, some of us may have learned to enjoy those releases that came out in HBO Max and or Disney Plus, right? Maybe some of us have been enjoying The Mandalorian a little too much. But regardless of that, like, what good is it if we went through all of the pain of the pandemic, wearing masks or having a hybrid model at school, or even just, again, not being able to see people who we enjoy, who we love, like who we get an opportunity to share things with? Or maybe some of you, the pain has been not being able to come to CSM on Monday nights, right? Like, that's what I've missed. I actually miss watching you guys drown Dr. Peppers and eat Cheetos, right? Like, I miss that, right? And I'm sure some of you miss it as well. It was painful, and it's been painful. But here's the thing. What good is it for us to go through all of that pain and not have any gain? Meaning, like, we didn't gain anything as a result of going through a difficult time, a season where our lives were just disrupted. And here's the thing. We didn't choose the pandemic. The pandemic chose us, right? And we couldn't choose how to get into the pandemic. But guess what we do get an opportunity to do? We get an opportunity to choose how we exit the pandemic. So in order for us to exit this pandemic properly, I want us to be able to gain. And there are three areas that I want each of you to think about and to consider gaining in as a result of the pain that you've experienced. You ready for this? All right, so here's the first thing. The first thing I want you to gain in is to gain in your creativity. Here's the thing. You've had to become so creative in this season of how to connect with friends, right? Or how to be, do e-learning, right? You had to figure out ways to be creative, to connect, and to find opportunities to not be bored, right? I mean, because so many things have been taken away from us. Some of the freedoms, some of the liberties have just been taken away. And so I want to challenge each of you to maybe gain in your creativity, to use this time where things have been different and things have been difficult for you to actually start to determine to become creative. I mean, I've learned how to actually play badminton a lot better in the pandemic because I had an opportunity to have time and space to actually set up the net and actually hit the badminton across the net with Whitney. And now all of a sudden, I think I can beat all of you in badminton anytime. I'm taking challenges. All right. Now, I think you can gain in your creativity, right? Maybe it's picking up a book. Maybe it's actually picking up a craft, right? Something that you put aside. Maybe you got that sewing kit that's been collecting a ton of dust. Maybe it's an opportunity for you to make your own, I don't know, bathing suit for this summer as you get ready for the pool, right? Or maybe you want to put together a cool shirt for your parents or your mom, or maybe your favorite teacher that's been working really hard over the pandemic to bring you learning through a virtual window. So I want you to gain in your creativity, right? And then here's the second way that I want you to gain. Not just in your creativity, but I also want you to gain in your relationships. Now, I know that sounds so weird. It's like, how can we actually gain in relationships when, Mark, if you haven't noticed, we haven't been able to see, touch, feel, and be in the same space as the people that we love? Well, that's just it. See, here is an opportunity for you to think about the relationships that you want to cultivate. What are those new friends? Who are those new people? What are those new opportunities for you to maybe serve and to connect with people who you ordinarily wouldn't do? We talk about going back to the normal, but what if this time has been created so that you stretch beyond the normal and do something that's abnormal, right? Maybe that's what it is. You're gaining because now you want to create connection and relationships with people that normally you wouldn't do. Right? Maybe it's serving, maybe it's sending a card, or maybe it's sending a gift card to somebody just as like an olive branch to connect with them. Maybe it's finding a way to reach out or to create a cause so that you can actually be caring for people who otherwise you wouldn't even be thinking about. Because if we're honest, all of us have experienced some level of privilege as well. Because I guarantee you that there's somebody who's been going through the pandemic that's experienced a lot more pain than you and me. So what can we do? How can we be creative and fostering relationships that help other people's lives become better? That maybe just eases some of their pain. And maybe using this season and time to not think about what's in it for me, but what's in it for somebody else. What's in it for another student? What's in it for maybe your teacher? Or a student who they didn't have a tablet to use for e-learning, so they're literally a year behind in school. I want you to think about it. I mean, you are the generation that can actually come out of this better than the way that you came into it. So those are the two ways that I want you to gain. I want you to gain in creativity. I want you to gain in your relationships. And here's the final thing that I want you to gain in. You should be gaining in your faith. That if nothing else, this time should have shown you how important having faith is, right? How important it is for you to have a faith that Jesus has been with you through the ups, through the downs, through the times when you felt like giving up. And here's the thing, if you're watching this, guess what? You are blessed. You are a testimony of what faith is. Because guess what? You made it to this point. There's so many people that did not make it to today. They didn't make it. There's somebody right now that's your age that's battling for their life in the hospital. But that's not you. And here's the thing, even if that is you, guess what? It's still a testimony of faith because God is still with you. And Jesus still cares about you. It's in this moment, it's in this time, it's in this pandemic that as we began to build different and lead out of the pandemic mindset, that God begins to show us how big he is, how small and minute some of the pain that we've experienced is in comparison to how good his grace, his mercy, and his love has been toward each of us. So, how are you gaining in your faith? And how are you sharing that faith with others? Because here's the thing. Pain without gain is a shame. So this week, I want to challenge each of you to make sure that you're gaining something out of all the pain that you've experienced. Listen, can't wait to talk to you next week. I'll talk to you next week, same place, same time. You guys have a good one.